What happens on your first call with the buyer? A buyer has reached out. They want to have a conversation. And suddenly you're thinking, what do I actually say? What is he going to ask? And how much should I actually tell him? And what am I agreeing to when I pick up the phone? In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what the first call looks like. So when you go into it, you're prepared and not caught off guard. Speaking to business owners who have been approached directly by a buyer, he had been thinking about selling for a couple of years, but hadn't got around to doing anything about it. When the call came, he wasn't sure whether to take it. He worried about speaking to a buyer meant commitment to something. That once he picked up the phone and the process had started, that there was no going back. He took the call. It lasted about 20 minutes. Buyer asked a few straightforward questions about the business, explained who they were and what they were looking for, and then suggested a follow-up meeting. After that, the seller told him he'd been surprised at how low-key it was. He expected pressure. What he got was a conversation. He said if he'd known if it was going to be that straightforward, he would have given it a second thought. Here's what to expect from the first call with the buyer and how to handle it well. You're not committing to anything. The first call is just a conversation. Taking it doesn't mean selling. It doesn't mean you're agreeing to anything. It's just two people finding out is there something worth further to explore. Nothing more than that. A good buyer will make it clear from the outset. If someone is pressuring you from the first call, that tells you something about how they operate. What a buyer is trying to find out. On the first call, a buyer is trying to answer three basic questions. Is this the right kind of business? Is the seller someone he can work with? And is there enough to warrant a proper conversation? They're not trying to interrogate you. They're not trying to catch you out. They're trying to work out whether it's worth everyone's time to take things further. Expect straightforward questions. How long have you been running the business? How many people do you have? What does your business do and who are the main customers? Are you the sole owner? And at some point, what's prompted you thinking about selling today? The last question is one of the most sellers find the hardest. You don't have to share anything. A simple, honest answer is fine. You've been running the business for a number of years. You've been thinking about what comes next. And you wanted to understand your options. What you should be finding out. A first call is just a buyer assessing you. You should be assessing them as well. Who are they? What have they brought before? How are they going to fund the purchase? What do they plan to do with the business after they buy it? And what happens to the staff? A serious buyer will answer these questions clearly without hesitation. Someone who is vague and evasive, focused entirely on getting information from you without sharing anything about themselves, is something worth being cautious about. The buyer will probably ask you some key financial details. Nothing too intense, but the main one will be, what's your annual revenue? What's your profit and loss like? And do you have the last 3 years' tax accounts? When it comes to the more sensitive information, that comes after the NDA has been signed. It's completely reasonable to say, I'm not happy to share details once we've established there's a genuine fit and we've got something in place to protect confidentiality. Any serious buyer will respect this. So what happens next? Well, if the call goes well, the natural next step is a face-to-face meeting, or a video call if that's easier. That's where the buyer gets to know more about the business in depth, and where you get a proper sense on who you're dealing with. Nothing is rushed, nothing is agreed. The first call is just the beginning of the conversation that may or may not go anywhere. The first call is part of the process, and it feels the most daunting before it happens, and most is straightforward once it's done. Go in prepared, know what you like to be asked, and have a few questions ready of your own. Remember, you're not committing to anything just yet, you're just having a conversation. If you're thinking about selling in the next few years and you'd like to understand what that conversation might look like for you, get in touch and we can have a conversation.